channel. I'm Amy and welcome to Become Your Own Favorite Chef. So the past couple weeks I've been thinking back years ago when my husband and I first got engaged in Charleston, and we actually went through Savannah, Georgia, and then we went to Charleston, South Carolina. And in both cities, my favorite thing was wandering through the streets and always constantly smelling this amazing smell of butter and brown sugar and smoky nuts, and they were these amazing pralines that all these candy shops were making. And you could even get like warm praline samples. It was heaven. And come back home to Arkansas and I haven't had anything like that since. And I've been craving these pralines, and I got to figure out how to make them on my own, even though cooking candy terrifies me. Like, I'm a great cook, but this whole candy making thing, I'm not too good at it. However, with some experimenting, I think I've made the perfect praline, and I think I made the recipe pretty foolproof. I've done it many times and they've turned out perfectly. In fact, I have some right here, and these are delicious. They take me right back to those streets in Savannah, and these melt in your mouth, buttery, sugary goodness. You're going to love these. And it's an easy recipe. Let's get started. Okay, so this recipe is easy, but you have to be prepped, because once it starts cooking, it's going to go super fast. So first off, let's get our ingredients that need to be cooking in first. What I've got in here is 1.5 cups of white sugar, 3/4 cup of firmly packed light brown sugar. You can use dark if you like. It's just a little more mapley. We've got a pinch of salt. We have 1/2 cup of milk. I use skim milk. I think it makes the candy super light and delicious, but feel free to use whatever milk you have on hand. Even cream would work. And then we also have 6 tablespoons of butter. I used salted butter and put a pinch of salt. Put a couple pinches if your butter's not salted. The saltiness will really help bring out the sweetness as well as kind of the smokiness from the nuts. While this is on medium-high heat and it's all melting, I'm going to stir it occasionally, and we're looking for it to come to a rolling boil, which we'll see here shortly. But also, to be prepped for this fully, you need to go ahead and get out some parchment paper or wax paper. Even foil will work, because this is where we're going to put our candies when they're ready. We need some nuts and some vanilla extract that we're going to add once this comes off the heat. Let's talk about the nuts for a second. The pecans are the traditional nut to use, and they're my favorite, but I love to toast them first. Toasting nuts is super easy. You can do it on the stove top. You just take a completely dry pan, don't add any oil to it, put it on medium-high heat, and let the nuts sit there for about 5 minutes until they start browning, and you can smell it. It makes them just so delicious, a little smokier, and really brings out those flavors. You can chop these up a little bit. That's what I've done, so that I don't have big old halves in my pralines, but if you like those big old halves, it's your praline. Do what you want. We also need a little bit of vanilla extract that we're going to add, and an optional ingredient is the butter flavoring. You can get that at your grocery store as well. And you don't have to do this, but I'm going to show you a trick. You just need a little glass or a cup of some cold water, and that's going to help us know when our candy is at a soft boil. So this is almost boiling. We'll wait a couple more minutes, but I'll show you what the rolling boil looks like so that we can start our timer and move on to the next step. Okay, this is at a rolling boil, so I'm going to wait about 3 minutes. I'm going to stir constantly. Go ahead and put your candy thermometer in. This is very important. You want these to be the right texture. So we are looking for this to be at about 238 degrees. But the trick I'll show you in a minute, just to explain what a soft ball stage is, which is what we're looking for. If we take that glass of cold water, once I think it's about 238 degrees, and we drop just a drizzle of this into that cold water, when I reach in and I touch the candy, it should be able to fold up and be rolled into a ball, and that's called a soft ball stage, and that's how we can double check and just make sure that the candy is perfect and ready to move on to the next step. Okay, it's almost at 238 degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm going to go ahead and test this. Dribble a little bit into our cold water. Alright, and then you can pick it up, roll it into a soft ball. Look at that. And that means we're ready to take it off the heat. So we're going to remove it from the heat. And at this point, we can add our nuts. I've got 1.5 cups. Feel free to add a little bit more if you really like a lot of nuts in your praline. Add a little less if you don't. I'm going to keep stirring, stirring, stirring. And then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then I like this imitation butter flavor just because it makes it taste a little more buttery without adding more butter. And so I'm going to add just literally a dash of this imitation butter flavor. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to stir and stir and stir and stir. And this is going to give it that glossy sheen that beautiful pralines have. And we're letting it kind of cool and starting to thicken up. And what you're going to need to know, or what you're going to need to listen for, is a gritty sound. I know that sounds crazy, but it's easier to kind of feel for that texture and hear for that texture than see it. So whenever you start hearing some of these sugar grains hitting the pan, and when it gets a little bit harder to stir, that's when you know that your timing is good and you can start laying your pralines out on your wax paper. This should take a minute or two. Okay, I can hear that grit sound. It's getting really tiring to stir. That means we're going to start dropping these, and we're going to drop them fast. And that's how you make pralines. All these little bits in the bottom, don't get rid of those, eat them, they're delicious. And we're going to let these cool just for about a minute. And definitely I'm going to dig into these before they cool completely, because warm pralines, you don't get any better than that. Well guys, as always, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this recipe, and talk to you later.